Mr. Donald Trump has been elected as the 47th President of the United States of America. With this election, now there is a renewed discussion as to the new regime, that is Donald Trump 2.0. Will it be a continuation of the earlier policies, or will we see a moderation of the policies, or a higher stakes will be seen in the upcoming administration? Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of Economy Explained. And in this session, let's try and understand what was the viewpoints of the earlier administration under Trump 1.0 regarding India, and what is expected to happen in Trump 2.0. Before I start the discussion, I have a very important announcement for all of you. On the 10th of November at 11 as well as at 5 p.m, we present to you the Unacademy's Civil Services Championship. Attain the test and you stand a chance based on your performance to win a trip to Border Gavaskar Trophy test match. You can also win laptop, tablet and smartphones, and you also have an option based on your scores to win scholarships and rewards from a pool of 50 crore rupees. With this caveat, let me start the discussion. Earlier, when Mr. Donald Trump was the President of United States of America, there was a contentious, let's say, relationship between India and USA. I'll be discussing this relationship under 4 headings. That is, the first one, trade relations. Second one, the argument of the government, or let's say the President of USA, that India is a tariff king. Third one, India, USA and the World Trade Organization, what has happened to disputes, etc. And finally, the GSP status. India has been demanding this, whether it will be re-established or given back or not. Let me start with the first one now. Trade relations. India conducts trade with multiple countries. And if you take the top 10 trading partners, in all cases except to one country, India has a trade deficit. In essence, India imports more from 9 of the top 10 trading partners except to one country. And that one country with whom India has a trade surplus is the USA, United States of America. According to the latest data for financial year 24, the bilateral trade, bilateral essentially means the value of imports plus the value of exports. The bilateral trade between India and USA is around $120 billion. And not just this, the important fact to note here is India exports a lot of these goods and services, and specifically within these goods and services, there are certain products which are very much labor intensive. Essentially, these are the areas where lot of labor is generated, lot of labor is actually utilized. For example, the textile sector. For example, some of the components within electronics industry, etc. So if you look at the total trade, especially the exports that India does to USA, some component of these exports essentially come from these labor intensive sectors. And these are very important for us. Reason being, India in recent times has seen exports dwindling because of internal factors as well as external factors. But within this, the labor intensive sectors such as diamond as well as textile sector has been very badly hit. And if you look at this in that context, you will realize that these exports which are labor intensive, we need to ensure these exports will continue to rise, continue to grow going towards USA. And out of this $120 billion, a substantial part of this is exports, and exports of the merchandise, that is goods, and a part of this is the labor intensive exports. This is point number 1. Point number 2, India right now has started negotiating multiple trade agreements with multiple trading partners. In the last couple of years, India has signed multiple trade agreements and it is continuously negotiating with many other countries to sign a trade agreement. Now, in that particular context, if you see, India having a trade surplus with USA and India negotiating a trade agreement with USA, this becomes very, very important and crucial for us. Because when you sign a trade agreement and if you have a trade surplus already with that country, after the agreement is signed, further these exports from India are expected to increase. And as such, currently we are negotiating a trade agreement with the current administration there. And very recently, after 4 years, after a gap of 4 years, for the first time, the Trade Policy Forum, which is basically a forum where Indian representatives negotiate with the USA representatives, which was stopped when Mr. Donald Trump was the president, has started negotiating again. The 14th TPF, Trade Policy Forum, negotiations were conducted very, very recently. Now we will have to wait and see whether these negotiations will be entertained, will be continued forward or taken forward by the new administration, or these will be cut short. In addition to this, a 14-member grouping has proposed, which is led by USA, has proposed IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. India is one of the trading partners or the member countries. Under 4 pillars which have been proposed, India has accepted the 3 pillars. One of the pillars is yet to be accepted by Indian side. So these are certain very, very important areas of trade where India and USA are involved. Now we will have to see whether after Mr. Donald Trump becoming the president, under his administration, whether they will continue negotiating with India or they'll simply revert back to their old policy where they will raise certain concerns regarding trade with India and try to arm twist, right? Basically get more negotiation and concessions from the Indian side. So this is the first area. Second area, back in the October 2020, Mr. Donald Trump for the first time, when he was the president for the first time, stated that India is a tariff king. Essentially, his argument was India exports goods and services to USA and also imports, right, many of these within India or into India. But when these products will land into USA, government of USA provides a lot of tariff exemptions, and the tariffs which are imposed by the government of USA are much lower. Compared to this, when USA's exports will reach the shores of India, will reach the borders of India, the government of India imposes a very high tariff. And to prove the point, he again and again kept on hammering on the product of Harley Davidson vehicles and many of the other products such as alcoholic products. Now, what is the fact in this? What is the point to be noticed in this? India, if you look at the average tariffs, yes, the average tariffs in India are slightly higher. And there's a particular reason for this. Government of India, in order to protect the domestic market, to promote Make in India, in order to reduce import dependence, etc., periodically has kept on raising tariffs. The average tariffs in India is somewhere around 17%. And definitely, yes, when you compare the 17% with the average tariff in USA, which comes out to be around 3.3%, yes, it looks very, very high. But having stated so, India is not the only country with very high tariffs. Compared to India, even countries such as Korea, Japan, China, and many other Asian countries have very, very high tariffs. And not just this, Indian tariffs historically, if you look at it, have been reducing, have been coming down. Only in recent times, to achieve the objective of Atmanirbharata or self-reliance, the tariffs have been increased on certain commodities or certain imports. And second point here is, India has been signing trade agreements with many trading partners. And when India signs trade agreements, automatically the tariffs which are applicable on the imports of other trading partner in the agreement, these are brought down. So there is a trend where India has been signing trade agreements and reducing these tariffs. So government of India very often says, if the tariff is a problem, then let the other country come into a trade agreement with us. So automatically the tariffs would be lowered. Now the concern here is, what will be the policy of the new administration? As such, if you're reading about the policies, or let's say the approach to the policies of Mr. Donald Trump, many experts basically make out one point. That is, the approach is very erratic in nature. There is not a thought out policy approach, rather it is very erratic. Suddenly they will take a decision, they will revise the decision, etc., etc. So when the approach is so erratic, now we will have to wait and see what will be the new approach of the President of the USA. Third one is India, USA and the World Trade Organization. It is a very well-known fact that many of the policies of Government of India are not acceptable to the USA government. It could be a subsidy policy in agriculture sector, where Government of India says that it is not violating the de minimis principle under Agreement on Agriculture. On the other side, USA, which uses another policy or another formula to calculate it, says Government of India by providing agriculture subsidies is violating the 10% rule or the de minimis rule. It's not just the only contention. Under WTO, whenever the countries are to be classified as a developed and developing, there is no formula used. The member countries self-declare. For example, India itself declares under the WTO that it's a developing country. USA on the other side has declared itself as a developed country. The contention of the President of USA, that is Mr. Donald Trump, is that India is a developed country, not a developing country. But just to be very clear here, it is not the viewpoint only in the context of India. Even for China, same viewpoint is held by the former president, or let's say the president who will take charge in the coming months. So his argument is, these countries are not developing, these are developed countries. And if you classify them as a developed country under WTO, many of the exemptions that India enjoys, many of the relaxations that India enjoys, all of these will be taken away now. So that is one more very important contentious areas. You'll have to wait and see what will be, let's say what will be happening in the coming days. I'm just reminded of a very nice heading in Indian Express editorial page today. Get ready for the ride. Get ready for the ride. Because the next 4 years, once Mr. Donald Trump becomes the president, takes a charge, there will be a lot of, let's say, reversal of the policies, lot of changes in the policies, lot of, let's say, the policies which are not accepted by many countries, etc. So it will no doubt be a choppy ride for the next 4 years. In addition to this, one more very important point to make a note of this, under Mr. Biden, who is the current president of USA, India and USA negotiated with each other, and multiple disputes that were existing between India and USA under World Trade Organization, they were settled. They were basically withdrawn by the respective countries. So the disputes actually went down under WTO between India and USA under the current administration. What is going to happen under the next administration is anybody's wild guess. Next important area of confrontation between India and USA will be the GSP status. GSP essentially stands for Generalized System of Preferences. Under this, a developed country will provide certain tariff relaxations to the exports coming from a developing country. India has been provided with the GSP status by many countries around the world. Until 2019, this status was given by even the United States of America. But in 2019, the government, when Mr. Donald Trump was the president there, they alleged that India doesn't provide sufficient relaxations and targets USA's exports, announced that they would be withdrawing the GSP status which is given to India's exports. And as a result of this withdrawal, many of the exports from India which enjoyed lower tariff or tariff relaxations started attracting lot of these tariffs after the withdrawal. So these are certain very important areas of friction between India as well as the USA which have been existing in the last couple of years, even when Mr. Donald Trump was the president till 2020. Are these the only areas? Of course no. For example, going forward, there will also be a discussion what will be the impact of new presidency under Donald Trump on Indian industries, especially industries such as information technology and information technology enabled services. Because Indian companies send a lot of their workers under visa programs to USA. And when he was the president, he imposed a lot of restrictions, reduced the numbers of H-1B visas which are allocated to Indian professionals. And just to be very, very clear here, under the current administration, majority of these visas are issued to the Indian professionals. Will it have a huge impact on the Indian industry? Many experts do not think so. Reason being, the experts are pointing out that compared to what were the policies followed by the Indian companies earlier, now they have changed their policy. That is, they are hiring more and more local talent there. They are outsourcing, that they are subcontracting to many other companies within USA, and this, they say, will help India in being protected from any kind of a changes in the visa regime in the upcoming government policies. In addition to this, of course, yes, there will be a lot of talks in the coming days regarding overall relations, because the trade is just a part of overall relations between India and USA. Whether the friendship that is existing between the Prime Minister of India and the President of USA, Mr. Donald Trump, whether this friendship will reduce the blow or reduce the kind of, let's say, confrontationary measures that the upcoming administration is expected to take regarding many other countries. So you will have to wait and see and keep on updating the information regarding the disruptions that would be caused in trade relations between India and USA under the new administration. That's it from my side. This is what I wanted to discuss with you people regarding the impact or the possible impact, the existing, let's say, picture and the possible impact in the upcoming administration of the USA government. If you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button, and most importantly, if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly subscribe to it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.